Day 1. You wake up in a fire trench. Somme sector, France, July 1916. 6 feet deep, 6 feet wide. Walls of raw earth held back by wooden planking called revetment. Above you, a narrow strip of gray sky. That's the whole horizon now. Not the sky, a strip of it, boxed in by trench walls on both sides for as far as you can walk in either direction. You've been here 4 days. The bombardment started a week before that and never really stopped. A constant low thunder somewhere ahead of you that you've stopped consciously hearing the way you stop hearing a clock ticking in a room you live in. Your battalion is somewhere in a line that runs, without exaggeration, from the Belgian coast to the Swiss border. 475 miles of continuous trench, dug by both sides, facing each other across a gap that's sometimes 50 yards wide, sometimes 500. Stand to happens at dawn. Every single day, whether anything is happening or not. Every man climbs onto the fire step, rifle ready, bayonet fixed, and waits. Because dawn and dusk are when attacks statistically come, when the light is just wrong enough to hide movement. You do this facing an enemy trench you cannot currently see anyone in. You will do it again at dusk. You will do it tomorrow morning, whether or not anyone attacks either time. Day 2. Breakfast is bully beef, tinned corned beef, and hard biscuit that needs to be soaked, or it will genuinely break a tooth. Same problem sailors have had on ships for centuries. Except now it's happening in mud instead of salt water. You've been issued a rum ration, a small tot, doled out under an officer's direct supervision because rum theft is a real and constant problem. It's not for enjoyment, it's roughly 1 ounce, meant to steady nerves before something specific is expected to happen, and everyone on the line understands, without being told, that a rum ration today means something is planned for tonight. The trench itself is alive in a way nobody warned you about. Rats, an estimated population running into the millions across the whole line, grown fat on food scraps and, unavoidably, on the dead who can't always be recovered from no man's land. Some men have seen rats the size of small cats. You believe them now. Lice live in every seam of your uniform, and no amount of washing removes them entirely, only reduces them briefly until they return within days. Men run candle flames along their seams to burn the eggs out. A routine as normal now as brushing your teeth used to be. Your feet are wet. They have been wet for 3 days straight, standing water in the trench bottom that duckboards only partially solve. This is how men get trench foot, a fungal, swelling, sometimes gangrenous condition that has taken more men out of the line in this war than bullets have in some sectors. You've started changing your socks obsessively, rubbing whale oil into your feet every chance you get, because the alternative is genuinely losing toes, or worse, to something that started as simply being wet too long. Day 3. A letter arrives from home. You write back. Every letter you send is read first by an officer, a censor, who cuts out anything that reveals your location, your unit's movements, or anything that might lower morale back home if published or intercepted. You've learned the code without meaning to, a kind of flattened, cheerful language that says nothing true and worries no one, because the truth wouldn't get past the blue pencil anyway, and because you're not entirely sure you want your mother reading the truth regardless. You spend the afternoon on working party, hauling supplies and ammunition up communication trenches that zigzag deliberately, not carelessly, so that a shell landing in one section or an enemy who breaks through can't fire straight down a long open line. Every angle in this trench system was designed by someone thinking specifically about how you might die in it, and built to make that slightly harder. Day 4. An artillery barrage lands close, closer than you've experienced yet. The dugout you're in, a hole cut into the trench wall reinforced with timber, shakes hard enough that dirt rains from the ceiling with every impact. Men count the gaps between shells without discussing it, an automatic habit by now. Nobody speaks during a heavy barrage. There's nothing useful to say, and the noise makes conversation pointless regardless. When it lifts, you're sent to check the wire in front of your section, out past the parapet in the dark, on your stomach, in a task called a wiring party, repairing the barbed wire entanglements damaged by the shelling. This is done at night specifically, because doing it in daylight, within clear sight of an enemy trench a few hundred yards away, is simply a way to get shot doing routine maintenance. You've never been so aware of your own breathing. Day 5. Gas. A greenish-yellow cloud drifting on the wind from somewhere down the line, not aimed precisely at you, weather-dependent and imprecise even for the side releasing it. You get your mask on inside the time you were trained for, barely, hands shaking in a way they didn't during drill. A man 2 sections down doesn't get his on fast enough. You hear what that sounds like. You will hear it again in memory for the rest of your life, whether you want to or not. Chemical warfare on this scale didn't exist in any previous war in human history. Neither side entered this conflict expecting it, and both sides are now using it, refining it, building masks better, and gases worse in a grim technological argument neither side is winning cleanly. You keep your mask within arm's reach from this day forward, asleep or awake, for the rest of your posting. Day 6. Word comes down that your unit is going over the top at dawn, part of a push meant to break the deadlock that's held this stretch of front for months. You clean your rifle, you write a letter you don't send, folded and left with your things, the kind every man here has written at least once and hopes never gets read by anyone. An officer not much older than you walks the line that evening saying something meant to sound confident. Nobody in the trench believes it fully, including, you suspect, him. The bombardment intensifies through the night, meant to cut the enemy wire and suppress their machine guns before you go. You don't sleep, nobody does. You lie in the mud, running through the same 40 yards of open ground in your head over and over until dawn simply arrives whether you're ready or not. Day 7. The whistle blows. You climb the ladder onto the fire step and over the parapet into open ground that has a name nobody uses casually. No man's land, cratered by artillery, tangled with wire, offering exactly zero cover between you and a machine gun position you cannot currently see. On the first day of this particular offensive, in the real history this week belongs to, the British Army suffered close to 60,000 casualties in a single day. The worst single day in the history of that army. Before or since. You don't know that statistic yet. You're simply running low, fast, toward a tree line that keeps not getting any closer. You're teleported back. No mud, no lice, no letter waiting to be censored, no whistle deciding whether this is the day. A war that killed roughly 17 million people total, soldiers and civilians combined over 4 years, fought largely across a static line that barely moved more than a few miles in either direction for most of that time, at a cost per yard that historians still describe as almost impossible to fully convey in numbers alone. The men who fought it weren't reckless, and they weren't naive. They understood exactly what they were walking into most days, and they went anyway. Because the alternative, the letter home explaining why you didn't, was somehow harder to write than the one you left folded on your bunk instead.